What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at Potion Master. And this video is on the previous patch, but it does actually bring some relevant gameplay elements to talk about that I think are still relevant on this patch and potentially even more relevant on this patch. And we'll talk about those things as they come up a little bit later into the game. But for starting off, it's going to play like a pretty typical Potion Master game. Here I will grab the Wizard's Familiar and then cast the Genie's Wish. And I do wind up getting a little bit lucky from this Genie's Wish. One thing that I am considering is like, do I want to do anything where I buy or sell anything before I cast the Genie's Wish? Because maybe if I picked up that Sherwood Sure Shot first, then I'm a little bit more likely to cast a Sugar and Spice off the Genie's Wish rather than just casting like a free roll or a Forbidden Fruit or something like that. I wind up getting pretty lucky though and casting a Shrink Ray, which then allows me to play 3 units and win this combat pretty easily here. So we are just going to continue to play Potion Master, and I do like Polywoggle and Mad Mim on Potion Master because one thing that I do like to do with Potion Master is try to send something up the chain if possible. So that's definitely something that I'm looking at here. I think I could grab like Mad Mim plus Egg or Mad Mim plus Sherwood Sure Shot, lock the Polywoggle potentially, and then like next turn I can just go Polywoggle, Mad Mim, and For Glory. And I'll probably win the For Glory because I'm picking up a Humpty Dumpty and playing 7 units and 2 ranged units as well, and then potentially slay with the Polywoggle, and that gives us something for the here and now and something to scale with into the late game. So I like this idea for a strategy to start off, and we'll see how things evolve. One thing that I won't say is an evolution of the strategy, but it is an awkward thing to consider here. We're playing up against the Ghost, so there's no real incentive to Polywoggle or slay this turn specifically. Maybe I didn't realize that necessarily. Okay, I realize that now. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to win this For Glory, but I'm not going to be able to slay with Polywoggle. So that part's a little bit awkward. Maybe I should have just not purchased the Humpty and sold the Fanny to pick up the Vampire. This Fanny seems like it is pretty unlikely to be relevant for us this game, and I still maybe wanted to pick up the Polywoggle, but wasting some gold on the Humpty on a turn where I'm just going to win regardless. Not super useful for us, but we do get a free tier 3, and it's actually something that we just saw in that shop as well, and that is the Good Witch. So we could now maybe like use this to support the egg. That could be something interesting. And then I see the Turkish Delight, and that's also kind of something that I am into. So I think I'm going to wind up locking for that Turkish Delight because I just cast the free roll. Free roll was good because it allowed us to pump up Wizard's Familiar, but I will want to try to make use of the Turkish Delight that's in this shop here. So just going to try to play the best board with what is currently in here. And one other thing I'm thinking is if I buy the Turkish Delight next turn, that'll make me hit 4.0, and then I could slay with the Polywoggle next turn. So because of that, I'm going to take the Polywoggle out for now, despite, hanging on to it for a little bit here. And then I am going to cast the Turkish Delight, and then try to slay with the Polywoggle next turn and get a tier 5 unit, which would be a pretty early tier 5 unit, and like I said, that's one of the nice things that I like to try to do with Potion Master. We'll potentially be able to TLK it pretty shortly after that, and we're also just strong right now. Like, we're in no rush because we're doing pretty good despite locking for some XP, and now probably strong enough. We are facing up against Pup, so Pup can certainly be strong, and that can certainly be awkward, and Pup is also a... it might make it more difficult for the Polywoggle to slay, so that's definitely something to consider here. But I'm going to start by picking up the Sherwood Sure Shot. You see the old Dancing Sword and Fountain of Youth. This is a time where I really like Dancing Sword. We've got potential access to 2 different mummies here if I want to pick up the second mummy, but Dancing Sword just giving Polywoggle 1 additional attack could be the difference maker. So I like trying to take Dancing Sword on some of these neutral minions, and that's kind of a weird change for it. But for the most part, everything else, I would say, is pretty straightforward as far as how you'd currently play Potion Master 2. It all winds up being pretty similar other than this Dancing Sword bit. But I don't think... I guess there were no real changes to early game units, right? It's just they added in some 5s and stuff. Added in some 5s, cut some 5s. Yeah, I think that's it. So Polywoggle has a pretty good odds to slay, actually, after we take out their support. That is going to be enough to allow our Polywoggle to slay. So pretty close one there, but that is really good for us. We are going to take 5 damage, but that's a pretty good trade-off for getting a tier 5 unit. And Wombat's in Disguise, pretty nice tier 5 unit. It's definitely good with spells that we could potentially cast on it as Potion Master. I'm definitely considering the Fortify there, or whatever that spell is called. But I am just going to wind up rolling, and I roll into Wretched Mummy triple. So that's a pretty sweet pickup, but I don't really love my options here. Deepstone Mine, we are not playing Dwarves. Ancient Sark, we're not playing evil stuff either. I could have taken the Ancient Sark and then sold my 2 benched units to grab the Cat's Call, but I don't think that that's worth it. And then maybe I wasn't considering the other Fortify as much, but I will take this one and put the Wombats up to 9/9, which is pretty nice. So just getting that extra +1/+1 from the Potion Master. And I think that's probably going to make us strong enough. It's only 4.0. And we've got some nice sizable units. We've got a large ranged unit, a decent mummy, and wombats, which have some nice last breath. So I think that we might be able to get away with this one. But our opponents are going to start to catch up with us, so we do have to consider that. And my opponent hitting some really nice breakpoints, everything staying alive with 1 health, but we summon quite a large chicken here. And it's going to be a close one, but we are going to be able to get the win just barely against this Loki. So now we are probably looking for, I mean, a True Love's Kiss would be big, and that is what we wind up rolling into. So that gives us a tier 6 unit, and this is what I wanted to talk about as the concept for this video. Obviously, this is a really early Lordy, and that's not something that you can necessarily play into because it's random, but I do think it's something that you should play into when you get it. And by that I mean when you are able to find an early Lordy, I think that you should go into Dwarves. And maybe this sounds pretty straightforward, but I think there would be a big temptation here to True Love's Kiss this Lordy. And I decide not to because I have the Greedy, which means that we're getting a little bit of econ from the Lordy getting to buff up the team. But it was in playing this game that I realized something that really is a similar conclusion that GregBot recently posted on Reddit. GregBot is the winner of the most recent tournament, the February spring, no, I guess Spring Championship Series qualifier. GregBot was the winner of that, and he said that he played Dwarves a lot during that event, and this was definitely somewhat true of Dwarves on the last few patches, but certainly comes into play now. Dwarves really is in an interesting space where it is a end game comp more than it is an early game comp, and we're really going to be able to make good use of Dwarves here. But one of the things I guess that I wanted to bring up is a lot of times when you True Love's Kiss into Lordy, there is a big, at least for myself personally, I'll say, it's like a letdown. It's like, oh, I could have got so many sweet things, and instead I just got this really linear piece, and it's not that fun. It doesn't seem like it's that cool, but honestly, it is just very powerful, and for that reason, Lordy definitely commands some respect and is pretty useful. So right here on this turn, I was kind of looking for a True Love's Kiss to try to hit the upgraded Tier 5 unit that we had, but I'll settle for just taking some more Dwarves and then locking some XP, and I think that'll be powerful enough. But yeah, I mean, to some of you, this might seem pretty straightforward. Lordy's good, one of the best, like, pump spells for a very linear tribe, but there's a lot of stats in Lordy, and it's good. Who would have thunk it? But I think more than just that, more than it just being a linear thing, it really, Dwarves, especially if you can get this early Lordy, are pivot worthy. And there's been a few times in the past where I would find an upgraded Lordy with Potion Master. Honestly, it happens with Potion Master a fair amount, or with some other things, and I kind of just lament what I've discovered. And in this one, I play a lot more into it, and it works out a whole lot better for us. I think one thing that's interesting about this game too, I didn't actually find that Tweedle until 5.0, so everything that I do in this game, aside from the Dancing Sword, which did actually help us get that sleigh, I believe, but everything aside from that is pretty much going to play out the same on the current patch. And so basically what GregBot brings up is that they will try to just play as powerful as they can in the mid-game, and then once they hit level 6, they're either looking for big payoffs in the Sleigh comp or big payoffs in the Dwarf comp. And basically by big payoffs, they mean, can they find Jormungand or can they find Lordy? And obviously, if we can find Lordy a little bit sooner than that even, I think it's pretty good. So again, it might not sound like I am saying too much to everybody, but to some others that might need to hear the message that just Lordy is pivot worthy, especially Lordy on 4.1 or whenever we found this one can work out pretty well for you. So I could pick up the Fanny, but we are on 6.0 now, so I think I'd rather just try to roll for more Lordies or Echo-Woods. Echo-Wood could also be good, but with 10 gold here, I think the play is to sell 2 of my units and cast this Knighthood on Lordy, and then lock for the Echo-Wood, potentially for the Pigomorph as well. But one of the reasons that Potion Master is actually pretty okay with Dwarves is because you get to find a lot more upgrades as well So let's jump ahead a little bit into this next combat. But yeah, just getting able to see more spells in each shop does make Potion Master kind of a good Dwarves character, Dwarves hero. And we can see Wonder Waddle is also trying to do some dwarvy things. They've got the Dwarven Forge doubled, in fact, that we let go of earlier because I thought there was no way that we were in Dwarves, and I even made those comments about selling the fanny, knowing that we would eventually wind up being in Dwarves here. Kind of in a weird way that you wouldn't normally expect, but that's Dwarves for you. And it's all going to work out pretty well. We're still really powerful. We beat the rest of the lobby to finding Lordy. We found it on 4.1 or 4.0, but that is going to allow us to also, or the fact that we've knighthooded it means that it's just going to be more difficult for our opponents to find it as well, because there are a limited number of Lordies in the shop. Okay, cool, get that off the screen. And then we're also getting a little bit of econ each turn as well, and that was part of the reason that I was tempted to go into Dwarves, was because I saw the greedy, and that kind of lets us build up some gold to continue to find the pieces that we want, which is pretty sweet. So now we've got 14 gold. We could pick up a greedy. We are up against the ghost, and honestly, these crafties are not super exciting for us, so that's what we'll do. And then I roll into another Lordy, so we are looking pretty good. Here's another greedy for us as well, but not going to be able to pick that one up right now. We will just try to get some gold off of this ghost and then use said gold to be able to roll and potentially find more Lordies or Echo Woods or Tweedles for what's potentially our final battle coming up. It'll either be against Mrs. Claus playing Royals, or it'll be a Dwarf off against the Wonder Waddle. And it looks like we got ourselves a Dwarf off, and looks like we got ourselves another Lordy as well. So things are going pretty well for us here with all of these Lordies. Could pick up a doubly too, though we still have a lot of time. I do think I mean, it is worth picking up, but we have a lot of time to roll into more Dwarves, and you can see if we did not pick up that doubly, we would have been able to purchase this knighthood as well. So because we are unable to, I'm just going to loot through this shop a little bit, and then potentially, I guess I'll just loot through the shop. Okay, no, I do go for the lightning bolt. I do think that is a little bit better, and we'll see if we are unable to defeat our opponent, because for backline plus the Echo Wood survives, that's 9, 10, 11, 12... 13, 14, 15. Okay, if our whole field survives, we kill them. But that seems pretty unlikely, especially like the Fanny. Though the Tweedle can die, though the frontline Lordy probably won't survive. Maybe there's an interesting play there too. Oh wow, they actually Piggo our Echo Wood. All right, well, good for them. That is going to make it tough, but then they see that we have 3 Lordies, and they realize how tough it's going to be for them. They have not found a single Lordy, because we've had them all. So we're going to hit them for 13 damage down to 2. Then I'll go ahead and make some more Lordies with this knighthood. Still don't have a single treasure other than the dancing swords that we picked up early in the game, and that is going to be it for this one as the Wonder Waddle calls it quits. So interesting game there. I mean, I think that's kind of typically how I like to play Potion Master, or one of the ways I like to play Potion Master, if the board presents itself, is True Love's Kiss up and get something sweet and try to see if I can't beat the lobby with it. And there's a lot of other interesting things that you can do that with on the new patch, but I just want to give a quick plug for Lordy, because I think that this is going to be one of the more common ways that you find yourself in Dwarves now, is finding that early Lordy and using that as the excuse to be able to play Dwarves, because it might be tough to do so otherwise. But that is going to be it for me for this one. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.